All right. Welcome to the Vicky 3 Academy. I'm Walker. Here we are doing industrialists as an interest group today. So we're gonna do industrialists and trade unions, and then we'll have gone over all of them just like from a broad spectrum view. If we have very special things that we want to talk about in regards to the IGs, like we'll probably do a dedicated landowner battle video, but that'll be mostly about just trying to teach you how to fight a specific IG, and then it'll be geared towards the landowners, but you can kind of do anything with it. But this video is about the industrialists. So who are the industrialists? Why are they different from the petit bourgeoisie? Well, the industrialists sort of represent like the big money people, the capitalists, whereas the petit bourgeoisie represent kind of like the petit bourgeoisie. They represent the middle management. So what that means is the industrialists, they really only take off once capital investment becomes something like that's actually meaningful in the world of your country. And so you can expect them to remain pretty weak until you start hitting more complicated methods of production and ownership. Simply because you don't need the capitalists at the beginning of the game, like socially, and so they don't exist in terms of your organization. But once they do, they can be very powerful. So who is attracted to an industrialist? First of all, of course, as always, their political strength, because they are an ownership class that's going to be concentrated mostly around high strata pops. A lot of their political power is going to be coming from their wealth. The more that you democratize, the generally speaking, the weaker your industrialists are going to become, simply because you're going to dilute their advantage in wealth with extra votes. But don't take that to mean that you can't have a strong industrialist and a democracy. You absolutely can. Just be aware that the more democratic the system is, the weaker the upper strata interest groups will become. So why, who would support the industrialists? Well, first of all, they have to meet these criteria of professions. They have to be capitalists, engineers, or shopkeepers. Shopkeepers are gonna like kind of be pernicious in your society, kind of no matter what. They always are there whenever you have middle management necessary in urban buildings. Engineers, you're going to be mostly getting out of your mining and your rail. So if you're doing heavy industry, you're going to have a lot more industrialists there. And then of course capitalists, because they are one of these like optional ownership things, they also kind of have that timelessness social aspect that the petit bourgeoisie do. But typically capitalist real strength is unlocked here by mutual funds, because it's going to let you move off of either merchant guilds or privately owned, depending on which ones we're working with, and into publicly traded, which is just going to add a ton more capitalists to the system. So you can see here that these guys are currently on privately owned. That's because they're not using hand sewn clothes, right? And that kind of makes sense, that in order for you to start up a textile mill, if it's just using hand sewn clothes, there's not a lot of capital investment involved. You can be a petit bourgeoisie and operate that. But as soon as you start having expensive input goods, things that require the owner of the business to have a lot of money to throw around, you go into privately owned, you get capitalists. So that should make it pretty clear that this power is manipulatable depending on how you want to do it. And what you get from it is really sweet. So tax avoidance, this one's not good. The manufacturing tax income can be pretty bad depending on how well developed your economy is. So you typically don't want to make the industrialists angry. But more than that, you also typically want to make them happy. So right now in France at this time, they are considered powerful. So these numbers are going to be double what they would be normally. But we could pop over to, I think these guys aren't going to have, they have them too. So you can see that there are a couple of countries that, yeah, here we go. There are a couple of countries that actually just start with a powerful industrialist, in which case they have the double speed things here. But production technology cost is really, really good. Capitalist investment pool contribution is also just an outrageous upgrade in terms of the amount of money that you get to build with for free. And then, of course, you have the laws and ideologies that you're working with here. Those are mostly going to be aimed at, again, strengthening their own power. But the things that strengthen their own power, depending on what your goals are as a country, aren't typically going to make you that much worse. I think that generally laissez-faire, free trade, in the current AI build are not very good, simply because they rely on the market to be pretty well managed and efficient. And it really, the AI is struggling with some things at the moment. But I suspect that if I were to play on Anbield's AI mod, which we will do a video about modding soon, but I suspect that if we tried that we would see laissez-faire and free trade are better when the AI is better. Child labor allowed is really annoying. They mostly don't care about any of this stuff. Their distribution of power is kind of annoying. Their taxation thing is kind of annoying. Their colonization is okay. They oppose serfdom, which is good. Most of what they do for you as a country is investment pool. The laws that they're looking for are going to be things that are, again, aimed at making the industrialists powerful. Fortunately, there are some things that, like, they just oppose doing nothing, right? They just oppose no social security, or they oppose no schools. So they'll accept a charity school or a religious school or a public school instead of that. And so you can work with them. I would just be careful about making them too powerful, because, again, anytime you have a really powerful, wealthy upper strata IG, they have a tendency to resist any changes that deprive them of power and wealth with extreme ferocity. Okay, that's Walker. Those are industrialists. I really think the biggest strength for these guys is their massive amount of investment pool. But I think even that alone is a good enough reason to be interested in powering up the industrialists. So let me know how you've used them in your own campaigns, because that's typically how I use them, is just beat them up for money. All right, take care.